Chapter 34. Sister, Sister. Kichi and Red exchanged glances as they stood outside Kevin and Mary's home. The house appeared undisturbed, giving no indication of the supernatural events that had unfolded. However, their instincts urged them to explore further, suspecting that Kevin's shop might hold valuable clues. Making their way to the shop, Kichi and Red noticed signs of recent activity. The doors were slightly ajar, and a great amount of heat could still be felt as they stepped inside. They also saw tools scattered about, as if many people had been working with great haste, exchanging a glance, sensing that they were getting closer to uncovering the truth behind Shinigami's activities. The sudden surge of activity in Kevin's shop piqued their curiosity, hinting at the possibility of something significant happening there. Carefully, they explored deeper within the shop, keeping their senses alert for any signs of danger. As they stepped inside, they were greeted by the smell of burning metal and the sound of clashing tools. It was evident that someone had been diligently working on forging something, despite Kevin and Mary's absence. The scene before them revealed a frenzy of activity. Tools were scattered across the workbench, and the forge blazed with intense heat. Kichi and Red examined the materials and work in progress, trying to discern what Kevin had been creating. Red's eyes widened as she noticed a partially completed blade lying on the table. Its craftsmanship was extraordinary, and she recognized the intricate details reminiscent of the crimson katana. "Kichi, look at this," Red whispered, pointing at the blade. "It's the same style as the crimson katana. Kevin was forging another one." Her expression grew serious as she studied the unfinished weapon. It seemed that he had been entangled in a deeper connection with Shinigami and the dark forces that lurked within the blade than they had understood. "We need to find Kevin and confront him," Kichi said, her voice laced with determination. "Wait, how many of these do you think he has made?" Red looked around the large shop. "From what I can sense and the number of shoe prints on the floor, it wasn't just him." With renewed urgency, Kichi and Red left Kevin's shop, their minds racing with questions. They needed to locate Kevin and extract the truth from him, even if it meant facing the dangers that lay ahead. "Ring, ring, ring, it's Riley," Kichi informed Red, who was sniffing the air and other sections of Kevin's shop. "We're on our way, Riley. Tell us the location, and we'll be there." Right after hanging up with Riley, Kichi asked, "What is it?" Red sniffed for a bit longer before replying, "Not sure, but probably just a coincidence. Something I don't think I have smelled in hundreds of years, but it really couldn't be. Where are we going?" she asked to change the topic. Letting the matter go, Kichi informed Red that Riley may have a location Shinigami is held up in. Red's curiosity piqued by the familiar scent. She couldn't help but be in disbelief. She couldn't believe that the smell is what she believed it to be. However, wanting Kichis to focus on their current mission rather than what she may or may not smell, she changed the subject and asked about their next destination. Kichi glanced at Red, her eyes reflecting a mix of concern. Riley mentioned a possible location where Shinigami might be hiding. "We're heading there now," she replied. Kichi led the way towards the designated location. They navigated the city streets, their senses heightened and ready for any unforeseen challenges that lay ahead. The urgency of their mission weighed heavily on their shoulders, knowing that the fate of countless lives rested in their hands. Nearing the destination, Kichi's mind raced with thoughts about their plan of action. They needed to approach the situation cautiously, gathering as much information as possible before making their move. Reaching the location, Kichi and Red prepared themselves mentally for what they might encounter. They stepped out of their vehicle, taking a moment to survey the surroundings, searching for any signs of Shinigami's presence. Their instincts guided them, leading them towards a seemingly inconspicuous building. "There it is," Kichi said, pointing towards the structure. According to Riley, this is where Shinigami might be hiding. Red nodded, her eyes sharpening as she focused, her senses heightened as she detected a familiar fragrance in the air, causing her anxiety to surge. It was the same scent she had encountered at Kevin's shop, and it triggered memories from over 500 years ago. Her heart sank as she recognized the scent as belonging to her evil sister, another fox witch. But it couldn't be, because she had been vanquished for creating such unforgivable evil. The realization struck her with a mix of fear and uncertainty. How was it possible that her sister was involved in this situation? What role did she play in the emergence of Shinigami? Red's mind raced with questions, but she knew that now was not the time to dwell on the past. Suppressing her apprehension, Red shared her discovery with Kichi. "Kichi, there's something you need to know," she said, her voice tinged with concern. "The fragrance in the air, it's the same as the one I encountered at Kevin's shop. It belongs to my sister, another fox witch. She's involved in this somehow." Kichi's eyes widened with surprise and concern. She had heard stories of the treacherous nature of fox witches and the power struggles that often ensued between them. The revelation added another layer of complexity to their mission, but Kichi was determined not to let it deter them. "Stay alert, Red," Kichi warned. "We can't let anything or anyone distract us from our goal. We'll face whatever challenges come our way, including your sister. But for now, we must focus on finding Shinigami and stopping him." Red nodded, her gaze fixed on the entrance of the building. She knew that confronting her sister would bring forth a multitude of emotions and memories, but she also understood the importance of prioritizing the immediate threat at hand. Together, they steadied themselves for the battle ahead, ready to face the darkness lurking within the building and uncover the truth that lay hidden. Leaving Mary safe at the police station, Riley pulled up and greeted Kichi and Red before entering what they thought was the building Shinigami was hiding out in. With a determined expression, Riley turned his attention towards the building. Its exterior appeared nondescript, blending in with the surrounding structures. However, they knew that danger lurked within those walls, and they were prepared to face it head-on. Kichi stood before the large door to Shinigami's hideout. She felt a surge of determination coursing through her veins. With her katana gripped tightly in her hand, she braced herself for what lay beyond. Riley and Red positioned themselves closely behind Kichi, their presence a source of strength and support. They knew that the battle ahead would be fierce and unforgiving, but they were resolved to face it together. Red, utilizing her magical abilities, summoned a swirling white cloud of smoke that enveloped the large door to Shinigami's hideout. With a wave of her hand, the smoke twisted and contorted, wrapping around the door and exerting a force that pushed it open. As the door swung inward, revealing the darkness within, a chilling gust of wind rushed out, causing Kichi's hair to flutter and her senses to heighten. The darkness inside seemed to writhe and pulse, giving the impression of a living entity. Yet Kichi stood her ground, unyielding in the face of the unknown. The room before them was shrouded in darkness, making it difficult to discern its dimensions and contents. While the chaotic scene unfolded, Riley, Red, and Kichi were confronted by the shadowy figure of the Fox Witch. The eerie atmosphere was tinged with tension as their conversation took a dark turn. "Oh shit, don't tell me your sister?" Riley said, looking over to Red. Riley's shocked exclamation about the identity of the figure echoed through the chamber, highlighting the unexpected presence of Red's sister. The triangular ears and large tail marked her as a supernatural being, further confirming her connection to the Fox Witch lineage. The shadowy Fox Witch addressed Red. "I see your creation has come to challenge mine, sister." "How are you still alive?" "Never mind that." It would simply bore you, darling sister. Let's just say I saw your trap coming. I always was the more powerful one. When are you going to stop playing your evil and tormented games with humans? Red asked her sister. When am I? Looks to me you have a pet of your own, the shadowy fox witch stated, while sniffing the air as it floating by Kichi, taunting her with claims of superiority and power. I saved her from death by your abomination that simply torments others and has a perverted sense of justice. Oh, sister, had you not interfered with the birth of Makoto, he would have simply died, and Shinigami would have had full control of the body. You had to give his mother strength by calling out his name. From that moment on, Shinigami had to eat away at Makoto's honor and duty, tormented him, and made him suffer greatly in order to have control. You caused his suffering, just as you are responsible for the suffering the bladesmith will soon experience from watching his wife being divided into pieces. The shadowy witch laughed while twirling her finger in their direction. Her laughter filled the room as she unleashed a horde of possessed drug addicts and homeless, wielding swords crafted by them while at the bladesmith's. Riley, alarmed by the sight, pleaded for restraint, urging his companions not to harm the innocent victims who were under the witch's control. Red, however, clarified that these individuals were already dead, and that destroying their heart, presumably the source of the witch's power, was the only way to stop them. As Kichi fought valiantly, slicing through the possessed one by one, the urgency of the situation became clear. Amidst the chaos, Kichi realized just what the Shadow Fox Witch was saying, and quickly managed to relay that important message to Red and Riley. Her words ignited a sense of urgency within them as they realized the true purpose of the Shadowy Fox Witch's attack. It was all a diversion, a sinister plan orchestrated by the Shadow Fox Witch to allow Shinigami access to Mary. They needed to make their way to the police station immediately, as Shinigami was targeting Mary with the intent of forcing Kevin to surrender his own life. The fate of both Mary and Kevin hung in the balance, and time was of the essence. With purpose fueling their actions, Red, Riley, and Kichi pressed forward, fighting their way through the remnants of the horde. They prayed that they could reach the police station in time to save Mary and prevent the devastating consequences that awaited if Shinigami succeeded in his twisted plan. Chapter 35. Shinigami. Mary sat at Riley's desk, her thoughts consumed by worry for Kevin. She couldn't shake the image of his inner struggle, torn between his humanity and the dark influence of Shinigami. The torment he must be enduring weighed heavily on her heart. Within the chaos surrounding them, Mary found solace in the familiarity of the police station. The busy atmosphere provided a sense of normalcy, even in the face of the supernatural threats they were up against. Lost in her thoughts, Mary traced her fingers over the surface of Riley's desk, a small gesture of comfort. She longed for the safety and security of having Kevin by her side, his presence a source of strength and protection. But now they were separated by forces beyond their control, and she felt a deep sense of helplessness. Mary clenched her fists, determination fueling her resolve. She wouldn't simply wait idly by. She would do whatever she could to support Riley and the team, to ensure that Kevin's torment would come to an end and that they could be reunited once again. Mary noticed a sense of urgency among the officers moving through the station. There was an air of tension and purpose in their movements, as if they were preparing for something significant. Curiosity piqued within Mary. Determined to uncover the truth, Mary approached one of the officers who seemed particularly distressed. She reached out to him, her voice filled with concern, and asked what was happening. The officer's expression spoke volumes, a mixture of fear and apprehension, rendering him speechless. Mary's worry deepened as the officer pulled away from her abruptly, his eyes wide with terror. Without a word, he turned and sprinted in the opposite direction, leaving Mary standing there, stunned and bewildered. Her instincts told her that danger was imminent, and her thoughts immediately turned to Riley and the others. She couldn't shake the feeling that their mission had taken a dark and unexpected turn. Whatever was happening, it had sent the entire police station into a frenzy. Fear and uncertainty gripped Mary's heart, but she refused to let it paralyze her. She knew she had to find Riley and the team, to warn them of the impending danger. Unwilling to allow fear to ruin her efforts, Mary hurried through the station, her senses heightened. As she made her way through the corridors, Mary's mind raced with questions. What had triggered this sudden wave of fear? Was it a result of Shinigami's presence, or was there another threat lurking in the shadows? Overwhelmed by the sound of gunshots and screams echoing through the police station, Mary's instincts kicked in, urging her to seek safety and distance herself from the chaos. Fear tightened its grip on her. Without a moment's hesitation, she made the difficult decision to flee from the unfolding violence. With each passing moment, the desperate cries and the unmistakable sound of gunfire grew louder, fueling Mary's determination to escape the imminent danger. She ran through the maze-like corridors, desperately searching for an exit, her heart pounding in her chest. The hallways were filled with panicked officers, some rushing in the same direction as Mary, while others scrambled in different directions, trying to find safety or confront the threat head-on. Mary's mind raced with thoughts of the team she had left behind, hoping they too would find a way to survive the chaos and regroup. As she neared an exit, Mary caught a glimpse of the outside world through the glass doors. The sight that greeted her as she glanced outside was a chilling juxtaposition of beauty and horror. The parking lot, once a mundane space for vehicles, now resembled a grotesque cherry orchard. Long-limbed cherry trees stood tall, their branches adorned with delicate pink blooms, swaying gently in the breeze. It was a scene that would have been serene and picturesque if not for the gruesome reality that lay beneath. Strewn across the ground were severed arms, legs, and heads, their presence staining the once pristine blossoms with red. The air was heavy with the metallic scent of blood, mingling with the delicate fragrance of the cherry blossoms. The surreal contrast of life and death, beauty and brutality, left Mary momentarily frozen with shock and revulsion. It was a stark reminder of the ruthless power and violence that Shinigami possessed. The innocent cherry trees, once symbols of renewal and hope, had become macabre witnesses to his merciless rampage. The grotesque display served as a haunting testament to the devastation he could inflict. Despite the horror that unfolded before her eyes, Mary knew she couldn't afford to be paralyzed by fear. She had to keep moving, find a way to regroup with Riley and the others. The image of the blood-stained cherry blossoms fueled her determination, reminding her of the innocent lives that had been taken. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Mary steeled her resolve and stepped out into the surreal landscape before her. She navigated through the eerie scene, careful not to let the gruesome sights distract her. It was unknown if each step carried her closer to her allies, or closer to the confrontation that would determine the fate of not only herself, but also countless others. Sirens wailed in the distance, indicating that help was on its way, but the immediate danger still lingered within or around the station's walls. As the gunfire gradually subsided and the wind howled through the macabre cherry orchard, Mary's heart raced with fear. She found herself disoriented, the twisted trees and scattered body parts blurring her sense of direction. The eerie stillness that followed the chaos only intensified the weight of the situation. Then, as if emerging from the depths of her worst nightmares, Mary came face to face with Shinigami himself. The embodiment of darkness and evil stood before her, his presence exuding a chilling aura that sent shivers down her spine. His piercing gaze bore into her soul, an unyielding force that seemed to strip away her defenses. In that moment, Mary's mind raced, searching for any semblance of a plan. She knew that she stood alone against a formidable adversary, one who had already shown the capacity for merciless violence. She clung to the sliver of hope that her allies would soon arrive, but for now, she had to rely on her own instincts and courage. Summoning her inner strength, Mary mustered the courage to confront Shinigami. Her voice quivered, but her determination burned brightly within. "Shinigami!" she called out, her voice filled with all the defiance she could muster. "This ends here. Your reign of terror stops now. Give me back my husband." Shinigami's lips curled into a cold, wicked smile, his eyes gleaming with sinister delight. "Ah, Mary," he hissed, his voice dripping with malice. "You have no idea the power that resides within me. The darkness that consumes me is unstoppable. You and your allies are mere insects in the face of my wrath. I have justice on my side. You killed a patient. That is a crime punishable by death, no matter how many have to die for the sentence to be carried out." Although shocked by what he had said, Mary still refused to back down. She took a step forward, her gaze unwavering. "I may have been involved, but it was not my doing, Shinigami," she declared, her voice filled with anger. "I stand for justice, for the lives you have stolen and the pain and crime you have caused. You are the one that needs to be punished for your crimes." Shinigami's laughter echoed through the twisted cherry orchard, reverberating with a haunting resonance. "Foolish mortal," he sneered, "your bravery is futile. You cannot comprehend the depths of darkness that I command." He raised the crimson katana for his next kill. With her heart pounding in her chest, Mary braced herself for the imminent slash of his blade. As the crimson katana swung through the air, its lethal trajectory aimed at ending Mary's life, an unexpected interruption shattered the tense atmosphere. The sound of a familiar voice pierced through the chaos, commanding attention and freezing time for an instant. "Stop!" In that fleeting moment, sparks ignited as the crimson katana clashed against an opposing force. Kichi, with unwavering resolve and impeccable timing, had intercepted the strike just before it could fulfill its deadly purpose. The clash of the blades sent ripples of energy through the air, creating an ethereal display of power and determination. "No! You have interfered with my plans for the last time!" Shinigami shouted. Mary's eyes widened in shock and relief as she realized she had been saved from certain demise. Kichi stood tall, her katana locked against Shinigami's, their strength locked in a fierce struggle. The force of their collision reverberated through the cherry orchard, amplifying the intensity of their confrontation. Kichi's voice, firm and resolute, rang out once again. "Shinigami, your reign ends here. You will not lay another hand on the innocent." Shinigami, his expression a twisted blend of fury and surprise, pushed against Kichi's resistance, his dark aura pulsating with every ounce of his malevolence. "You dare to stand against me, Kichi? You know not the depths of the power I possess. This is futile." Kichi's gaze remained steady, undeterred by Shinigami's threats. With a fierce determination burning in her eyes, she pushed back against the darkness, her resolve unyielding. Mary watched the deadly dance of the blades unfold before her, torn between awe and fear. As Kichi and Shinigami's blades clashed with a resounding force, a smile crept across Kichi's face, an echo of the memories of their first encounter. She recalled the fateful moment when she had deftly sliced his throat, an act that had left an indelible mark on them both. It fueled her taunting laughter, a daring challenge to Shinigami's fury. The sound of Kichi's laughter cut through the air, a sharp contrast to the intensity of their battle. Her voice carried a mix of amusement and confidence. The knowledge that she had once bested him ignited a fire within her, intensifying her determination to prevail. Shinigami's anger flared, his eyes narrowing in hatred and frustration. The darkness that swirled around him grew more volatile, as if feeding off his rage and amplifying his evil. "You dare mock me, Kichi!" Shinigami's voice dripped with venom. He lunged forward, redoubling his efforts to overpower her. The force of his strikes became more ferocious, each swing fueled by a burning desire to regain his lost dominance. Kichi maintained her composure. Her laughter ceased, replaced by a steely resolve that matched the determination in her eyes. She could feel the warmth being emitted from the white smoke stream Red was conjuring, protecting her from the cold, dark smoke of death emanating from Shinigami. She danced with fluid grace, parrying each of Shinigami's attacks with precise precision, a testament to her mastery of the blade and Red's magic. With a flicker of her katana, Kichi deflected a particularly powerful strike, redirecting the force back towards Shinigami. She seized the opportunity to deliver her retort, her voice dripping with a mix of confidence and defiance. "Your anger betrays your weakness, Shinigami. You are consumed by your need for vengeance, blind to the truth. The strength I possess surpasses the darkness that engulfs you." Shinigami's face contorted with fury and desperation. The reality of his defeat began to sink in, further fueling his rage. His attacks grew more frenzied, each swing imbued with a reckless abandon. Yet, despite his onslaught, Kichi remained calm and focused, her movements fluid and deliberate. As their battle continued, Kichi's taunts and unyielding demeanor chipped away at Shinigami's resolve. The once all-consuming darkness within him flickered, momentarily giving way to doubt. Kichi seized upon this opening, exploiting the cracks in his armor with each deft strike. Having learned from their previous battles, Shinigami knew the best attack on Kichi was an attack on the Fox Witch. With a swift motion, Shinigami took a few calculated steps backward, creating a small distance between himself and Kichi. His hand darted to his waist, where a wicked dagger gleamed menacingly in the dim light. Gripping the weapon tightly, he prepared to strike, focusing his attention on Red. Seizing the opportunity to strike at Red, his eyes gleaming with malicious intent. The atmosphere grew tense as the dagger soared through the air, its trajectory aimed directly at Red, who was in deep meditation. Time seemed to slow down as Kichi and Mary's eyes widened in horror, realizing the imminent danger. Riley's instincts kicked in. With unwavering bravery, he swiftly positioned himself between Red and the incoming dagger. The blade found its mark, piercing through Riley's chest instead of finding its intended target. A surge of energy coursed through Riley's body, his form becoming ethereal and translucent. As the dagger penetrated his chest, a remarkable metamorphosis occurred. Riley's body began to transform, his limbs elongating and branching out, his skin transforming into bark. In a matter of moments, where Riley once stood, there stood a majestic cherry tree, blossoming with vibrant crimson flowers. The dagger, now embedded within the trunk of the tree, seemed inconsequential against the magnificent transformation that had taken place. The tree radiated an aura of strength and resilience, its branches reaching towards the sky, the cherry blossoms whispering in the wind. Red, who had been caught in deep meditation, opened her eyes in shock and horror at the sight before her. She realized that Riley had sacrificed himself to protect her, willingly accepting the blow that would have struck her down. Tears welled up in her eyes as she witnessed the profound act of selflessness. Shinigami, taken aback by the unexpected turn of events, stared at the cherry tree in disbelief. His malicious grin faltered, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. Kichi, her heart heavy with sorrow, stepped forward. "Your actions have consequences, Shinigami. The light will always find a way to prevail, even in the face of darkness. Remember this as you face your ultimate fate." As Kichi's blade found its mark, piercing through the gap in Shinigami's armor and into his chest, a gasp of pain escaped his lips. The dark energy surrounding him flickered and wavered, as if weakened by the strike. Shinigami dropped to his knees, his once formidable presence now diminished. Kichi stood tall, her katana still embedded in Shinigami's chest, her gaze unwavering. She could feel the ebbing power of her adversary, his grip on the physical realm slipping away. But she knew better than to underestimate him. With a final burst of strength, Shinigami unleashed a desperate attack, swinging his crimson katana towards Kichi. But Kichi was ready. She swiftly withdrew her katana from his chest and deflected his strike with a fluid motion. As the clash of their blades echoed through the cherry orchard, a determined expression crossed Kichi's face. She had come too far, endured too much, to let Shinigami prevail. Drawing upon her inner strength and the support of her allies, she launched a fierce counterattack. Blow after blow, Kichi's katana danced through the air, each strike infused with her unwavering resolve. Shinigami struggled to match her speed and precision, his movements growing sluggish and erratic. The battle reached its climax as Kichi delivered a devastating final blow, maneuvering herself behind Shinigami and plunging her katana alongside his neck, through his heart, into his stomach. The realization hit Mary like a bolt of lightning, and her scream of anguish echoed through the cherry orchard. Kichi's eyes widened as she withdrew her katana from Kevin's chest, witnessing the transformation of the bladesmith back into his human form. Tears streamed down Mary's face as she fell to her knees beside her fallen husband. She cradled his lifeless body in her arms, her heart heavy with grief. The weight of the truth crashed upon her. Kevin had been consumed by the darkness of Shinigami, forced to commit heinous acts against his will. Kichi, her own emotions raw and conflicted, approached Mary with a heavy heart. She knelt beside her, offering a comforting presence and a hand to hold. Red, emerging from her meditation, joined them, her eyes filled with sorrow. Mary clung to the memories of the man she loved. After a minute, she felt a twitch in his arm. Then another. Mary began gasping with joy at the thought of Kevin still being alive. "Kevin! Kevin! Can you hear me?" she frantically asked. Kichi remained on guard for the unexpected. Suddenly, Mary felt Kevin's hand caressing her thigh, then gently rubbing. Kevin barely audibly whispered, "I love you." Mary's heart swelled with a mix of relief and happiness, and tears streamed down her face as she held onto him tightly. "I love you too, Kevin," she whispered back. Kichi, witnessing the reunion, smiled softly, knowing that they had overcome the darkness and found a glimmer of hope. Together they helped Kevin to his feet, supporting him. As he stood, black smoke began to encircle Kevin once again, and a sense of uneasiness filled the air. Mary, Kichi, and Red exchanged worried glances, realizing that their battle was not yet over. The remnants of Shinigami's influence still lingered within Kevin, threatening to consume him once more. Kichi swiftly raised her katana, prepared to defend against any threat. Red focused her magical powers, ready to lend her support. Mary, torn between fear and determination, clutched onto Kevin, refusing to let go. The black smoke coalesced into a familiar form, and Shinigami's menacing presence returned. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity as he sneered at the group, relishing in their despair. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" Shinigami taunted. "I am not so easily defeated. Kevin is mine, and I will reclaim him." Suddenly, Kevin screamed, "I love you, Mary!" Then he plunged the crimson katana into his chest. The orchard fell into stunned silence. Mary's heart shattered. She could only watch in horror as the katana pierced Kevin's chest, ending his life. Shinigami's howl echoed through the air, filled with anguish and fury. As the wail subsided, an eerie calm settled. Shinigami's malevolent presence dissipated. In his place, a magnificent cherry tree stood, its branches adorned with vibrant red blossoms. Tears streamed down Mary's face as she reached out to touch the trunk of the cherry tree. She whispered Kevin's name, her voice filled with grief and love. Though he was gone, his sacrifice had vanquished the darkness that plagued their lives. Kichi and Red stood beside Mary, offering their silent support. They understood the weight of the moment, the pain of losing someone dear. They also recognized the significance of Kevin's sacrifice and the victory they had achieved. Together, they had defeated Shinigami, freeing Kevin from his torment, and exposed the involvement of a shadowy fox witch that they would most certainly hear from once more.